Okay, so we're going to take a look at this blank here. I know you can't see me very well, but hopefully you can see the part. Now, this is not the way to prep the parts. This is a way to prep the parts, okay? It's my way that I'm doing right now based upon the tools and everything that else I have. I have a handful of files over here, a couple of them different lengths. I typically like using a smaller file, but this is darn kind of 8 inches is longer than, or the 8-inch edge is a little longer than I'm typically deburring and stuff like that. But I mean, Lord knows what you're into, and you can do things a lot bigger than that. But I'm going to start by actually doing an edge for myself. So I'm going to take this part and I'm going to cut it. Now, hey, why aren't you putting this in a vise? Well, first of all, I've done this long enough to where the vise does a few things against me. Like one, it ends up here with these little diamond things in here. It bites into my part and leaves marks that I don't necessarily want to deal with. I got to constantly undo it and redo it. And frankly, I've kind of gotten used to understanding the relationship between my cutter, okay, my file, and the actual aluminum. So I kind of get a feel for what I need to do and how I need to take care of this part without needing some kind of a supplemental restraint device, if you would. So I'm just going to kind of go over this, and you're going to see me do some stuff. I'm not going to sit there and explain every single thing, but I'm rubbing my finger over the edge, and usually the fingernail test is awesome. Like if I take my fingernail and go over, and at the very edge, it kind of hangs up for a second, I know I absolutely have a burr on there. And I do that. Why? Because some things you can't see, okay? But some things you can actually feel. Like your fingers actually have the ability to feel a much smaller something, like a little grain or chip or nick or whatever else, than your eyes can possibly see. So I use my feeling a lot right here. Now, also, one of the things that I will say is I'm not a big fan of using unprotected hands with aluminum, and that's only because we don't want to get aluminum built up in your body. So I won't be doing a heck of a lot of this. I'm just kind of doing this for the purpose of this video here. But again, I'm getting through here, and I'm getting rid of all of the stuff on the edges, and I just focus on the edges first. Okay, and I'm just kind of going over there, and you notice how I'm changing the angle from something like this to something like this to something like this. And again, I'm rolling off that burr that way, going this way, and then I'm rolling off there. And that really just gets that any burr that's on there off. I'm going to go ahead and get onto my edges here. Okay, same deal. I'm feeling around. And aluminum is really cool because it is soft. So it's really nice to work with as far as that. You don't have to put a lot of pressure, and you don't even have to spend a lot of time. And in these blanks, they weren't bad anyway. So that's also something that was really helping out. Now, maybe hard to see in the video, but you can see, watch my file. Stops right here. You see that nick right there? That is something that I want to take care of. And what I'm going to do is just attack it head on at first. And then once it starts to get down, I'm going to put my file more on the surface here and kind of run it off the edge. Now, why am I doing that? Well, the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to change the shape of this part, okay? I just want to flatten it out right there at that edge. And if I go and just attack that corner, then I can round that whole corner off. But by using this flat part as a guide, I can just bring it right down to that surface without actually changing the shape of my part. Okay, so I want to be careful about, again, doing anything crazy. And then since I had that smash on the corner, I'm going to do the same thing with this edge here. And I can feel my file actually hitting it, and I can look and see where my file is cutting. And when it looks like that wide area that is my file cut, it starts to widen out, then I know that I've kind of flattened that out. Now, even though the corner ends up being a little bit smashed, you'll notice very well that I've actually got it down back to the best shape possible from that circumstance. So again, I'm just going to go around and be a little bit careful. If I feel anything that feels funny, I may take the flat file and kind of go over it and just try to knock it down, but I don't want to scratch my surface up too bad. And then the last thing I'm going to do as far as the prep goes is I'm going to get all this sticker stuff off of here. And if I can feel any of this, I'll get that off. But if I don't feel it, I really don't care. But I am going to get that sticker off. And then after that, then we're going to go ahead and measure and figure out what size our parts are. Because again, if you have burrs and nicks and dings and everything else, it is going to affect your measurement. So then I'm going to get a better idea of what size these parts are. I can group them so that they'll be like sizes. And then of course, now that they're prepared, I can sit them down in a vise and not worry about these parts actually sitting a little crooked.